What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C. Let me tell you about a great place, Envision Golf. Indoor simulators have exploded in golf, and Envision is leading the charge here in Portland. With the use of leading simulator technology in Golf Zone, you get transported to 200 plus courses across the world with the most realistic simulator experience you'll ever come across. With a hitting mat that not only gives you the turf to simulate real rough and sand conditions, the mat also raises up and slopes to create real live positions like playing on the actual course. If you're in need of a lesson, Vision Golf also has you covered with the PGA teaching pro Ignacio Cern. On top of that, they create an atmosphere with full bar and food options and sports on all the TVs that you're never going to want to leave. This is a great place for all events to be hosted with the VIP section to accommodate groups of all sizes. If you live in the greater Portland area or even the Pacific Northwest, you have to come out to a Vision Golf and check it out in Tigard, Oregon. Use code MuniciPals and you will get your first hour for free on your first visit. Also check out league nights and monthly events. Envision Golf, the Pacific Northwest premier simulator facility.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Ashton and Big C. This is our second time around because the first time we tried to do this, the mute button didn't work. And for anybody who's ever tried to be on a podcast, the mute button is important so that you guys don't hear our sniffling, sneezing, eating chips. I don't know if we've ever eaten chips, but a lot of things in the background. But this is hopefully going to sound much better. But I'm here with the homie Big Chris. He has spent, 22 hours in the car now driving across state lines. And yeah, but it sounds like you obviously had a wonderful time at the wedding, but I know you and the wife have spent a lot of time, I imagine, in your new Volkswagen Passat, huh?
Yes, 8-month pregnant wife, 9-hour drive to and from Tahoe. Screw express jets. Just going to say that if you ever need to fly a small airlines, well, you can't fly express jet anymore because they're out of commission. They no longer exist. So, yeah.
You didn't tell me it was called ExpressJet. Sounds fake. I mean, maybe it was fake the whole time. It sounds fake.
It was called ExpressJet, and yeah, it was a good deal that we thought we were getting, a solid situation.
You thought the airline would exist. You thought you could actually get on the plane and fly somewhere.
And then we turned a 45-minute flight into a 9-hour drive. But the cool thing was we got to split that drive in half on the way down, and we stayed at this great place in Klamath Falls, which is like southern Oregon, like southern middle Oregon. Right next to Crater Lake, called Running Y Ranch. And, everybody that listens to the pod knows my wife is the best. And, she allowed me in the morning before we made the rest of the drive to Tahoe to play the Arnold Palmer course that they had there. And I will say, best Arnold Palmer course I have played, and really, really well done, well-designed golf course.
Do you have... I have not played enough golf courses by people like Jack Nicklaus to have opinions. I know that I played a couple Jack Nicklauses, and I know that a lot of people tend to have pretty strong opinions, mostly negative. But what are your assumptions, or what have you seen if you have to think of themes or just things that you've observed? Like, are there certain things that make an Arnold Palmer course an Arnold Palmer course? And on top of that, did you see some of those things, some of those similarities at Running Y?
So this was probably the most unique Arnold course I've played. Most Arnold courses that I've played are very resort style. They're very much on the Tom Fazio way of building, which is like overdone, a lot of waterfalls, a lot of water features, bunkers that look really good, but they don't really do anything. It's just more for show than anything. Like, little pop bunkers behind, like 20 yards behind greens and stuff. I mean, it looks good and appealing from afar,
but it really isn't a playable feature. You don't get that as much at Running Y, which is, I think, why I really liked it, because it was resort style in the aspect of kind of some wide open fairways on some holes and really approachable big greens, things like that. But some of the holes were really, really tight. Great undulations on the green that really had you guessing on your reads, and some well-placed bunkering that really caused issues if you were not hitting it well or hitting proper spots. I think this was more of a course that I played that you are going to hit a lot of drivers, but you can't miss here. It's definitely going to be penalizing if you miss, especially in the first couple holes, because you have water. You have water on the left-hand side on the second hole. In the first hole, you have kind of a little bit of a carry and then a giant hill on the right-hand side that will funnel all balls left. And it's just, well-designed, great ball placement will get you in good positions to be able to score there.
It's so funny just thinking in general. This is a larger topic that we don't have to cover here, but it is funny how the idea of resort play, where the idea is like, look, we sometimes do go play resorts. You just did. But a lot of times I think if you were to say the average, resort guest, not at a place like Bandon Dunes, but the average resort guest is probably not like a hardcore golfer, right? And it's just so funny to me that like the features that are generally resort golf are, water features and fountains and that stuff. Like I remember there was one, it wasn't a resort, but there was a place, I forget what it was because he never wants to play there again. But Nick played a course in San Diego, and on the first tee, there was this older guy who's a marshal who's like, "You're gonna have a hell of a day." And Nick was like, "Why?" Like, I'm just curious. Like, well, like I love hearing that. What about it? The guy was like, I forgot the number, but the guy's like, "We have like 62 individual like bodies of water. We have like 13 fountains." And Nick was like, he almost wanted to go in the pro shop and just ask for a refund because it was super hard. It was target golf. It was, all the old guys thought it was like aesthetically appealing, but, for Nick, he was like, it's just not the way he wants to play golf, like the way we like to play where it's like, open fairways and angles and, more of like, it's really hard to lose a golf ball. Just the larger comment that it's so funny that, resort golf, which you think would be, like comfortable, is not, right? Like Terralago, that's like, I still think that is one course I cannot wait to get back to. It was so hard. Terralago was so hard, and that's resort golf, and it's such a hard golf course. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it tips the scales on either side. There's no like medium, like well done resort course. Outside of your stream songs or Pinehurst and Bandon, when I'm talking about resort courses, it's usually like resorts that have a bunch of other amenities that then decided to build a golf course. And just
you can go horseback riding.
You can go horseback riding. You can go, you can do archery, all these things. And then they're like, oh, let's just hire Arnold for his name to toss, a golf course in there so that we have that amenity as well. And this didn't feel that way. This felt like it was planned from the beginning that they were going to bring a championship style golf course to a resort and build the resort around it. I mean, this started out as a ranch. It was actually kind of a parcel of land that was purchased in the 1800s for logging. And it actually was overlogged and ended up being a farmland to grow seed for bent grass and bluegrass and a lot of different grasses that were sold and utilized throughout the area. So it only makes sense that a course was built in a place where bent grass was grown. And that's the grass that they utilized throughout the entire golf course. And it's meticulous too. I mean, the course opened in 96. It is aged extremely well. If anybody's played courses that were built in the 90s,
Weary. weary.
I mean, there's some that are,
It's like what was when we played in Vegas, the Arthur Hills design, that place.
oh,
You remember like we got there and it was like, wow, this was a cool golf
Yeah.
course. It's tired. It's
I can't
beaten up.
remember. We reviewed it. If anybody goes back and listens to our review, this shows how unmemorable this golf course was because neither of us can remember the name of it.
Yeah,
It was
just tired.
Yeah, it was just tired.
Even the houses, like it was like the houses, like the stucco was cracking.
It was all beige,
was like
everything, very 90s everything. And it just wasn't good. And this is completely the opposite of that. No
awesome.
houses anywhere on the course. It's, you can see the hotel from some of the holes, but outside of that, it's, wide open. You're in the forest. You're in kind of prairie land on some of the holes. It opens up. You kind of start on the front nine going into kind of a forested area. And then you come out on the ninth hole, and it's a large downhill par 4 that is like 60 feet elevated from the green, and it's a spectacular view from up there. I mean, incredible view. And then you go down to 10, and it just opens up. There's 10 and then 17, 18 are just in this wide open prairie land with a little bit of a lake in the middle of it. And it just looks very natural, like it should be there. It doesn't look like a lot of land was manipulated to manufacture this golf course. It just kind of feels like it was placed. And I think that's something you don't get with Arnold Palmer courses. There's a lot of land movement. You can tell that there's been a lot of manipulation to create certain features and aspects of his course. And this felt more like I don't want to say a Gil Hance or Tom Doak design, because it wasn't as natural as that. But
it was found. It was more found.
You didn't have to move a lot of land there because the holes seemed like they were pretty much there already, and they just needed to clear out some land and grass it up and call it a day. So that really led to me appreciating
that already
it.
sounds way better.
They're very
that
good.
sounds way
So
better.
anybody that's played Arnold Palmer courses, there's one actually in Vallejo that you know exactly what I'm talking about when it feels manic. It's called Hidden Brook out in Vallejo, California, and it's very, very manipulated. You can tell that they really had to process and move a lot of land to create the holes out there. And, they don't have the water features going anymore, but they had waterfalls and fountains and all this stuff. And Hidden Brook, to cut costs, has just stopped running them. So they just don't run them anymore. And it's just you can feel the age. Like, that course was built in the late 90s, early 2000s in a track home situation, and you can just feel the age of Hidden Brook, and you don't feel that when you go to Running Y.
Nice. Also, just went back in the archives. It was the Legacy. That was the
Legacy.
place.
Oh, yeah. It's a legacy of the 90s for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a golf course that I would have loved to see in its heyday, because there's a lot of good holes out there. But yeah, just tired. But I'm happy to hear that you didn't have that experience. But before we dive into the golf course, I'm curious, did you guys stay at the resort? How did the resort feel? Did the resort age well? Did the resort feel aged? Because we try to highlight amenities, and since this is a resort, give people a sense of the larger amenities. Because selfishly, I'm curious, because for all of you Bay Area folks, this is a place, talking to Chris, where it could be a perfect meetup if you have friends in Portland to go to go hang out and play some golf. And also, I know you mentioned there's some pretty good deals there for stay and play packages as well.
Yeah, it did not feel dated at all. Rooms were very updated. You could tell they've probably done a facelift or two over the last 20 so years. And really cool. We actually pulled up kind of late, and they have like automatic doors when you walk up. So they're these giant like log cabin doors that just swing open when you walk towards them. It feels very grand when you're entering it. And I mean, the deals are really, really good. I mean, if you're doing like a buddies trip, you can get a room with 2 queens and all day pass for golf the next day. And it's right around $300. And that's split 2 ways. That's for you and the guest. So, $300 split 2 ways, $150 a person for unlimited golf and stay. It's like absurd price, like insanely good price. And I mean, the golf course, I could have played there all day. I wish I had the time to be able to play there all day, because it was, when I finished it, I wanted to start over and play another 18. It was that good. And I mean, the amenities were also crazy. Our room also came with free breakfast and at the restaurant. So it wasn't like buffet style. You actually sat down and ordered anything you wanted off the breakfast menu. And that ran from like 7 to 11. They have horseback riding. They've got the golf boards that you can ride instead of golf carts. There's just an insane amount of amenities, hiking trails, ATVs. Like, I mean, they have it all. So, I mean, it's a family atmosphere all the way to like a buddy's golf trip.
Did you take a golf board?
I did not take a golf board. I didn't know they had them until after I played. But they were in extra like $30 to rent. I wouldn't have done it anyways, but I've always wanted to try them.
I was going to say, I mean, I think the people need a Jack made reel of BC humming along with a hot dog in his hand on a golf board.
I guess I should have done it just for content.
Yeah. But we're not thirsty boys. We're not JT. We're young Tom Kim, just being authentic. We're not JT. At some point, that'll happen. I know Hussey, this past weekend, Hussey played 36 at La Purisima, and he took the golf bike, like the motorcycle that had like the golf clubs. He made sure to tell me that was included. He said that La Purisima was, I think he said it was 130 the first round.
Oh.
But then the replay rate was 30, which is pretty good, and that included the golf motorcycle. So like, if you think about it, as $80 each round to play La Purisima, prime time on a Saturday with kind of, as we called it, the hog. It's not that bad.
I guess not for all day play for the most part.
And you're not going to kill yourself. Selfishly, I don't know about you, but let's be real. I'd be the person who falls on a golf board immediately. But no, but that's awesome. I mean, that all that included. I mean, that again, for people who are psychopaths like us, who are trying to jam as much golf as possible, when you combine like free breakfast with all that stuff, that is a really good deal. And I think actually going back to our Vegas trip, what you either called me or texted me about it was you compared it to Paiute, which, that's a compliment, because we've talked about going back to Vegas just to play Paiute again, because those courses, I know this is only one course as opposed to several, but just comparing it to Paiute, I was like, I'm interested, because Paiute was just a really memorable experience.
Yeah, it's what I would consider like a mountain version of what Paiute is, with trees and things like that. It's just the layout, feel, greens, very similar in how they went about kind of designing the course.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the course, let's dive in. I mean, obviously, I have not seen this place, but I would love to hear about kind of your 3 most memorable holes, and to see if Arnold threw any clunkers in there. So, yeah, walk me through kind of your, again, no particular order, but just tell me about one of your favorite holes.
Yeah, so I would say number 2 was probably one of my favorite holes out there. So number 2 is a par 5. So number 2 plays. So I will say this: when I went out there, anytime it's my first time playing golf course, I always ask the pro shop or whoever's behind the desk, like, hey, what should I experience out there? Or what tees would you recommend playing? And so the kid behind the counter said, if you're looking for an experience and the best views, I would play the Arnold Palmer tees. They're very elevated. It plays at, a little over 7,000 yards, but most of the tee shots are going to be elevated, and you're going to carry it further. It's not going to be as much of a hindrance. So
wait, so specifically those tees are elevated? Like it's not with the other tee boxes?
Not always, not
That's
on every hole.
sick.
So like some of the Palmer tees were like way higher up, or they had a much different look to the hole, and they were very unique compared to like playing the up tees, just because they were positioned in very, very unique spots. So
I kind of love that. I mean, especially for a resort course, like make one set of tees. It's like it's going to be a different golf course playing from these tees. I kind of love that, especially all day play. Play the Arnold Palmer tees one day. Play the regular tees. It gives you options, and the course looks and feels. I mean, you and I both know moving a tee box 10 yards to the right can totally change the entire hole.
100%. And for a guy that's not a long hitter, and I'm always the first person to admit that, 71 is like really long for me, like really long. I'm used to playing 66, 67. That's usually my wheelhouse of kind of where I play from. And so, I played from 7,100, shot an 84, which first time seeing the golf course, had two balls go OB. Thought I played pretty well. I wouldn't say it's the best round I've played in a while, but from 7,100, I left myself with a lot of space on par fives and a lot of other holes. And I mean, some of the par threes played at like 190 to 215. So, I mean, that's where I got beat up a little bit. But again, I mean, we'll get into one of my favorite holes that we played. But number 2, par 5, what's really cool about this hole, there's water on the left-hand side, a little bit of a hill on the right-hand side, but a really forgiving amount of fairway down the middle. If you hit it about 220, you can definitely get to the water. I found that out. And usually you pick your favorite holes on holes that you've played well. I did not play well on this hole. But I really liked the way it was laid out. You really had to hit good golf shots to score well on this. So I found the lake right off the tee. I hit a great drive. It just didn't clear the corner of the water that kind of comes into the fairway. And so I got a really bad bounce that kicked left into the water. I cleared it. It just didn't clear it enough, kicked left into the water. So I ended up, for pace of play, dropping up by where it entered the water. And so I hit a really nice second shot, just a little bit off to the right. And then it's basically the green wraps around the water and kind of is like a bean shape. And then they've got a hill that runs along the backside of the green with bunkers kind of running along the front right. And so I hit it right short of the bunkers. And then I had a really difficult chip shot because the green slopes towards the water on the left-hand side. So you basically have to hit it up on the hill and let it trickle down into funnel into the hole. And so it really gives you a challenging shot if you're not in the right position. If you're playing right in front of the green or approaching it, it's a lot more approachable, but off to the right-hand side, kind of having to come in sideways, you had to play it off the hill and let it kind of funnel in. And so I ended up bogeying that hole with an OB ball, which don't think was too bad. I mean, going OB off the tee and still bogeying it.
Wait, OB or red hazard?
Red hazard. I went into the water.
I'm not trying to drive by shoot you.
Yeah. So, but
that sounds hard. I mean, like, par fives become not scoreable when you have water off the tee, and then that bean shape you're talking about with bunkers. Because also too, like, I'm not the best bunker player by any means, but if you hit it, based on the way you described it, if you hit it in the front right part of that green into that bunker and you catch that, just a little bit to like a little thin, you hit it in the water and then you're hitting again from the bunker. Like, it sounds like, that this is maybe resort golf where it's more target golf of like hit it here, and then hit it here, and like get out of there with a 5. Like, you're probably not gonna make a 4. Just don't hit it in the water. If in doubt, take less club, play conservatively, and get out of there with a 5.
Yep. It definitely is one of those things where you have a forgiving amount of fairway if you can hit the ball far enough to clear the water. You end up having 30, 40 yards left to right of fairway. So, I mean, you have enough to play into. And if you're a longer hitter like yourself, you would be then left with, the thing is, you're still left. It's so, I mean, from...
You got like, what, 200 in with bunker with water
so
front
from
left?
the tees I played, it was 543. It was deep.
Yeah.
So even for you...
You're hitting like driver 7-iron and then hitting like a 50-yard wedge.
Even for you, you'd be left with 260 in or so from your drive.
Which I have that club now, but it's probably the wrong club though to hit 3-wood.
No, because
between
then
bunker and...
if you're trying to go for the green from there, you're basically then in a very tight window to be able to land on a that bean-shaped green. And if you miss it left, you're going to be in the water. If you miss it long, you're going to be on top of this hill, chipping downhill onto the green. Or if you're on the right, you're then having to chip sideways onto that green. So, I mean, the play would be to hit like a 180 shot short of the green and then give yourself enough room to be able to get up, have 100 in to get up. So...
Yeah, but that's hard though, because the strategy of almost like you said is it's like pound driver, but then lay back.
But you could also 3-wood there if you felt more safe. I mean, it gives you different variety. I would say,
and again, different tees. I imagine that hole plays super differently if you're playing that at 500.
You
totally
lose
different.
50 yards by moving up one tee.
The hole feels totally different.
And
from there.
so they have 5 sets
then
of
it's like
tees
a green
there.
light birdie hole.
It's the 5th hardest, which is crazy to me. That's the 5th hardest hole on the golf course, because it plays much harder than you anticipate. But that was probably my first favorite hole. Second favorite hole was number 9. So number 9, from where I played, 431 par 4, but you have an elevation of about 60 feet from the bottom of the fairway. So you can't even see the fairway from the tee box. All you see is the green. And so I actually had to take my cart and drive out a little bit to kind of see what was down there. And it's just like a freaking 50-yard, 60-yard wide, straight downhill fairway. So I was like, all right, just grip it and rip it, and then just let it run for as long as it can run. And so basically the whole plays straight downhill, goes into kind of a catch, into a basin, and then the green pops back up about 15, 20 feet that you have to get up onto. So I hit a really good drive on that hole. Ended up leaving myself, this sounds crazy, but I left myself with 120 yards in. And that's just because it's straight downhill. I mean, I probably hit it 230, 240 carry, and it rolled out another 100 something yards. So, it.
But see, that's resort in a fun way though, around like just get it down there and let it roll, right? Like, there's places you can't hit it like the water, but at the same time, it's not like, yeah, like they're trying to help you with the elevation changes.
Yes. And so it's a beautiful, you're so high up at this point that you can pretty much see the whole resort from this tee box. It's just absolutely gorgeous from where it's at. And the green is really diabolical. It's a 2-tier false front. So if you hit your ball short, it's coming right back down at you down the hill. If the hole is punched on the second tier, you really got to toss up a lob wedge or, something high up there to throw it back there and get it to stick. And it's an easy hole, but it also can be challenging if you're not the best short game player. And so I ended up walking away with a birdie on that hole. Up and down. The hole was running on the frontier, hit it just past about 6 feet and popped it in for a birdie. So it was really fun hole. I wouldn't say it's the most interesting hole I've ever played. I mean, it's just a straight par 4, but with the views and in the fun factor of the hole, that right there made it one of my favorite holes that I got to play. And it's just, you don't experience holes like that very often in many courses. And so it really just gave you different playability.
No. Yeah, well, the other thing, too, is, to your point, if you're not a good short game player, if you're off that day, you could probably chip it, kind of, if someone's like, let's get super cute and open up your 60 degree to make it an 80 degree club, you can just whack it back to your feet and make double, right? So, I mean, to your point, it's not really the drive that's the hard part, but it's like how well can you execute a pretty dicey chip. But again, a good golf course asks, different questions, and that's definitely probably one where you want to hit a really good chip there, else you're like, I should make birdie. But I bet most people, again, who are playing their 12, 15 handicaps, there's not a lot of birdies there, even though you quote unquote probably should. What handicap hole is that? I imagine, is it one of the easier ones?
So 9 is the 13 handicap. So it plays as probably one of the easier holes on the course.
Yeah, because it sounds like you just get it in the air and it's going to roll all the way down to kind of the catch base area.
I mean, it doesn't matter your ability or what you're playing from. It's going to all fairly end up similar places.
Yeah, and also, too, the thing I like about that is a very different hole from the hole you just described. Like, it's cool when, multiple holes stick out, but of different varieties, where it's not like, we both love short par 4s, but it's not like short par 4, short par 4, short par 4. It's like long par 5 with water, short hole with an elevated green. And then what's number 3? Is it a different hole from these two?
Absolutely different hole from these two.
There you go. God, shout out to Arnold.
Arnold killed it on this layout. I'm telling you, it was a fantastic layout. And so,
you sure it wasn't a Peter Jacobson design? You sure?
Absolutely was not a Peter Jacobson design. So 12 was my next favorite hole. So 12 is par 3. From where I was playing it at the Arnold Palmer Tees, it was playing at 183. But it, again, was elevated. So you were probably about 20 to 30 feet above. So it played more like a 155, 160. And so I went up. Again, beautiful views. Kind of like a postage stamp green with a few bunkers left and right. Not a lot of challenge, but again, the views in what you get from this hole and what it looks like, it's just beautiful. I mean, gorgeous hole. And it kind of reminded me of the par 3 on the front 9. I think it's, 7 at Presidio? Or 8? The one that's downhill. It goes downhill and the green sits down and there's eucalyptus trees and like a big hill that runs along behind the green.
I think you're thinking of 8 because 7's the par 3.
I know it's on the front 9.
It's got like a ridge, and then it goes down and then back up, and then you can see the part of the city. It's right by the driving range.
Yes, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's where the tee box sits. The elevation down is very similar to that, and kind of the green shape and things like that. Very, very similar in that aspect. I almost got a hole in one.
What? You didn't tell me that.
So 183. I ended up playing it. I actually played an 8-iron.
183,
but it was like 30 feet elevated.
Yeah.
So it was playing more like 155. And so I literally hit about 3 feet below the pin, and it hit the stick and bounced off, landed about 3 feet away from the pin.
So another birdie.
Another birdie.
That makes me happy that for two of your favorite holes. I mean, I'm not making fun of you saying you make birdies, but you're 1 under on your 3 favorite holes. I love that.
So played really well. And again, those are just 3. I probably could name 9 holes that I really liked out there. That's how good the golf course was. I mean,
and again, different tees. Like you could play there. You could play on a weekend where there. You could play 4 or 5 times and just see the course so many different ways, and that's exciting. That makes me want to get up there and play there as a meeting point in the middle because the course is so playable and different options and different tees.
Plays from tees. So this is how awesome this is. You can play at 71-38, which is where I played from. 65-81, 59-76, 53-65, and 48-47.
If we're having the mega day, it'd be fun to play from 48 and just see what happens, right?
Like, it would be fun to do that. And then also with the round, I encourage people to do this more. Play what I call the rainbow tees. And so every hole, you move up 1 tee, and then when you get to the closest tee, you move all the way back to the tips again. And so you just rotate all 5 tees throughout the entire round, and you make your own, scorecard up.
Of course, yeah.
And so I think that's fun. I would encourage more people, if you play the same courses all the time, do that. I mean, it will challenge you.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked. I'll bet you from 110 to 100 yards out on a par 3, bet you still bogey a par 3.
Well, the reason people don't want to do that is they don't want to realize their short game suck.
Yep.
That's what it is. Or also, it could be good design. Like, I know that on the Fried Egg Pod, they were just talking about, they were at some course in Maryland that was 5,900 yards, and it's a place that a lot of pros have played, and the course record 60. And you would think that place, the course record would be way lower than 60, but it's got super complicated greens, and it's just not a place you can go get, even though it's less than 6,000 yards. I think, like, Freddie Couples has the record at 60. You would think Freddie Couples would tear apart a 5,900-yard golf course, and he doesn't, because good architecture, and it's asking a different question than Pound Driver,
And that's exactly what this course does. You hit driver a lot because it is a very long course, especially playing from the Arnold Palmer tees. But your second shots and third shots really keep you guessing, and you really have to make a decision, on your approach shots at this course.
Were there any clunkers, Chris? Any holes that you just didn't like?
You know what? This is probably one of the first courses I would say that I don't really have a hole that I would really, hate on. I really like the whole entire course. I don't think there's...
I'm going to start calling you Mr. Palmer.
I was just like, there just wasn't it. And you know what's crazy? So the maintenance staff was incredible. I was out on the first group out, and the guys that ended up getting paired up with ended up quitting on 9. And they only played 9 holes. So I played the back 9 by myself. So I kept running into the same maintenance crew guy that was mowing the fairways. And we ended up sitting on 11 fairway and chatting for 15 minutes. And then later that day when I left the golf course and I was going to meet the wife back at the resort to grab some lunch before we headed out, he actually ended up going over there to grab himself some lunch. And I introduced him to the wife, and he was just the nicest guy. Didn't speak a lot of English, but really remembered me from out on the course. And he walked over to my car and he goes, "Oh, Mr. Reinhardt, you here again?" And he's just the nicest guy. And that really showed me that the people that work there love working there. They enjoy what they're doing. And it really shows in the condition of the golf course. And just the staff in general.
They're taking pride in their work. Yeah, it's just... I said just taking pride in their work, right? Keeping that course that way is important to them.
But it was the front staff of the resort. It was the people running the restaurant, all the way to the staff in the pro shop. Class act. And for the price that you're getting, this was by far the cheapest, most affordable golf resort I've ever stayed at. Period. There's nothing that's compared to it
That's
in that
sick.
in conditions and what you get for value of your money.
Sounds like a place people need to seek out. It's and then also too, you should mention the ball marker. I thought the pictures you sent were amazing.
Incredible ball marker. It's I will say only thing I didn't like about the ball marker, it's very much the size of a poker chip. But it's not as thick as a poker chip, but it's like as big.
In fairness, it's got a whole fucking lake on it. You don't tell people what it is, but it's got a lake. It's got to be big if it's got a lake on it.
One side of it has the Arnold Palmer, signature crest engraved on it. And then the other side, it's a 3D model of Crater Lake. And then on the inside of the lake, it actually says Running Y Ranch. And it's just the coolest ball marker I think I've ever found at a golf course. I've never seen a 3-dimensional, outline of a lake or, anything like that on a ball marker. And I thought it was just super cool. But they had a ton of great merch. Incredible merch. And logo is really, really good. So, if anybody goes, bring a little extra cash because you're going to want to stock up on the merch game.
Love it. Big C. Again, not great that you spent 22 hours in the car, but I'm happy you had this experience, and I would imagine that sometime in the near future this will be a G-Unit meetup, I'd have to think, because it's halfway for us, it's halfway for you, and we like affordability. That sounds amazing. Because again, we're the people who are going to, we are going to be, I've told this story in the past, when me, Nick, and our buddy Jake and our buddy Alex, and we went to the Robert Trent Jones Trail. I think we were playing our 54th. We had played 2 full rounds, and we're playing another 9. Whatever. We were on the 7th hole, and the head pro comes down, and I was like, my eyes got all big, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And the guy literally kind of same thing was so nice. He goes, "Hey, just checking you guys." He's like, "You guys were literally the first group off this morning. You're the last people on the golf course. We don't care. We just want to make sure you're okay. It's been 110 degrees today, and you guys, I don't even know if you took a break. We just wanted to check on you." That is going to be us here. It's oh, you say unlimited golf. Okay, we're going to truly take you up on that. So I'm excited about this.
I'm excited to get the boys out there and do a golf trip right, because it's a fun one. And I'm excited to get out there and play with you guys.
Well, perfect. Well, I'm excited. Next week's pod, we'll talk about a round that you and I played together when I was up in Portland. Excited to kind of share some of my thoughts on the place. Quail Ridge,
Valley.
Is that right? Quail Valley. God, we got to do better with the names of golf courses and the architects. Done by Peter Jacobson? No, not done by Peter Jacobson. Quail Valley next week, which, just to give you a little taste, greens were humming. But until then, Big C, have a great week. I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Peace.